What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. Anyhow, you guys stay tuned, and you guys don't forget to hit up Artem MMA Analysis on YouTube. Because if you don't, you guys can all do me a favor and bend the knee to King Triple C.
What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here, and I'm back with another video. We're talking about UFC 272. Let's get straight into the first fight, which is Dustin Jacoby versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. And I'm picking Dustin Jacoby to win this one. I'm going to say it straight away, but I don't think that you could really be sleeping on Michal. Michal is mainly a primary boxer. I don't think he actually has thrown any leg kicks in his last two fights. He doesn't really throw leg kicks whatsoever. That's something that Dustin Jacoby is pretty good at. Michal Oleksiejczuk is also a southpaw. And I don't really know how he fights orthodox. I've never really seen him fight in the orthodox stance. So I do think that Dustin Jacoby could definitely probably spend the opening round beating up the leg of Michal Oleksiejczuk with his leg kicks. If you guys don't know, now you know. Dustin Jacoby spent quite a bit of time fighting over at Glory Kickboxing for a while. He took like a 2-year break, I think it was. Or maybe I think it was actually a bit longer than that. Yeah, so he spent between 2019 in 2015, sorry, so it's about a 4-year break away from MMA. He took some time to fight over in Glory for a bit. He had a pretty decent record there. He won a bit, he lost a bit too, but then he also come back. He beat Cody East on the regional scene, and then the UFC gave him Dana White's Contender Series shot when he decided he wanted to come back to MMA. And since then, he's been on a bit of a win streak. I think he's like 6-0 since that break with that draw against Ion Cutelaba, whether or not you do think it's a draw or not. That happened, and his last two fights, I actually do think they've been on relatively short notice. I think he stepped up on short notice to fight John Allen, and I think something happened with the Darren Stewart fight. I think Darren Stewart stepped up on short notice to fight him. But yeah, he's on a decent win streak here. I do think that he's just outside the top 15. I think Michal is also just outside the top 15. But with that being said, I do think that Dustin Jacoby is going to be able to use his range. He's going to be used as more well-rounded striking as well. And I think he's just going to be able to win a decision over Michal in a very exciting stand-up fight. Michal, I think, has got a great chance to finish the fight in the first round, because Dustin Jacoby, although he does have a lot of first-round KOs on his record, especially recently as well, he has been a little bit of a slow starter in that first round. It's almost as if he's got to have a little bit of time to get into the fight. It's like that Ion Cutelaba fight, man. He got dominated in that first round by Ion, but then he managed to come back. So hopefully Michal, if he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to run forward. He's going to have to try and knock out Dustin in that first round, in my opinion. I think Dustin's just going to use his more well-rounded striking, his kickboxing. He's going to use his Glory Kickboxing experience as well. I think that the odds are a little bit wide on this one. I'm not really too much of someone that throws down a bit of money, but I did make a bit of money last week, which I'm pretty happy about. But I don't know. I wouldn't put Dustin Jacoby as like a minus 200. I think more like minus 150 is probably a little bit more fair on this one, considering Michal does have a chance to get the chin of Dustin Jacoby. I'm going Dustin Jacoby by decision. So it's the majority of people, man. I mean, I can't really disagree. I think Dustin Jacoby decision. And if Oleksiejczuk is going to win the fight, I think it's going to be by knockout. I'm going to go Dustin Jacoby. I do think he's going to get the job done. Now, if we move into the next fight, we've got Devonte Smith fighting Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein filling in on short notice here, and it's worth noting that this fight is actually taking place at lightweight, which is Devonte Smith's more natural weight class. Ludovic Klein a more natural featherweight, which is where he's had his previous UFC fights before. And Devonte Smith has never seen the judges' scorecards in his whole career. Of his 3 losses, he's got 3 KO losses. Of his wins, I think he's got like 10 KO wins and 1 submission win or something like that. Ludovic Klein, on the other hand, has only seen the scorecards once out of all of his wins. He's got 8 wins by submission. He's got 8 wins by knockout as well. 1 win by decision. If someone's going to be shooting for the takedowns, it's definitely going to be Ludovic Klein. And I do actually think that he probably will be trying to get a takedown on Devonte Smith. Ludovic Klein has landed 2.1 takedowns per 15 minutes in his UFC career, with only a 44% accuracy. On the other hand, though, Devonte Smith does have an 80% takedown defense, so he will be wanting to keep the fight on the feet. I do think Devonte Smith is going to be able to keep the fight on the feet, and as I said on my very early breakdown of this fight, I do think that Devonte Smith, he's just going to be a lot bigger than Ludovic Klein. He's also going to have a lot more power than Ludovic Klein as well, in my opinion. just the more natural lightweight in this one here. He's going to be 2 inches taller. He's going to have a reach advantage as well. I do think he's going to be able to utilize that striking to definitely hurt Ulanbekov Klein on the feet, and I do think that we're going to see a finish. He hasn't seen the scorecards yet. I don't know if Ulanbekov Klein's going to be that guy that can take Devonte Smith to decision. I do think that, he got submitted by Nate Landwehr, and he was a 4-1 favorite in his last fight. He lost to Mike Trezano in a fight which a lot of people actually thought that he won, though. It's definitely worth noting that. And that win over Shane Young is awesome. That was a great KO win for Ulanbekov Klein. But since then, man, he's kind of disappointed me a lot. I was pretty big on him against Nate Landwehr, and Nate Landwehr beat him literally everywhere in the fight. So I'm going to have to go with Devonte Smith. I think he's going to get the job done inside the distance. I'm very surprised that so many people are picking a decision here. Devonte Smith by knockout is my pick, but I wouldn't be too surprised. Actually, no, I would be surprised if Ulanbekov Klein managed to win this one. I do think Devonte Smith gets the job done. And if we're going to talk about some odds here, we've got Devonte Smith at a -170, Ulanbekov Klein at a +140. I kind of thought that we're going to see Devonte Smith as a favorite, but I didn't really expect -170 odds. I was thinking more -150, -140. But we've got Devonte Smith as a favorite. Can't really complain too much, and I do have a little bit of confidence in him to get this job done here. Two young guys fighting this weekend at lightweight, and I do think Devonte Smith is going to get the job done. Just use his power, use his size, and finish the fight that way. Alright guys, let's get into the next fight of the night, a fight that I'm really looking forward to, but a fight that may not produce the most exciting outcome. I'm going to be honest, man, I am picking to get Ulanbekov to win this fight. I wouldn't really line him as a -250 favorite though, man. The guy... Look, man, I'm going to sound quite negative here, but I just don't think that the guy has looked incredible in his last 2 UFC fights, man. He doesn't really have as great striking as Tim Elliott. He doesn't really check leg kicks either, and Tim Elliott's got pretty good leg kicks. But the problem is, man, I don't know, to get Ulanbekov, I do think he's going to get the job done, but it's just, you can't put much confidence in him, and I'm going to have to give some explanation to that there. So he made his UFC debut against Bruno Silva, took down Bruno Silva 5 times, got taken down 4 times for Bruno Silva, and then he went to a split decision against Alan Nascimento. Kind of a weird fight because Alan Nascimento did slightly outstrike him and also didn't take him down, but did go for submission attempts there. Had a little bit of control time as well himself, only 16 seconds though, so kind of a weird fight there. Alan Nascimento was striking, Tagir Ulanbekov was wrestling, but Tagir Ulanbekov really doesn't have much stand-up in my opinion. I just don't think he's got the stand-up as Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott, on the other hand, though, he fought Askarov in a stand-up fight, and if you can have a look here, officially defended 7 takedowns from Askarov, and officially got 3 of 11 of his own in that fight. So that was a pretty good look for Tim Elliott, to be honest, especially at this kind of point in his career. He's a 35-year-old guy. He's more of a grappler. I think everyone kind of knows him as a bit of a grappler. But I think if he needs to, man, I do think that he could try his best to keep the fight on the feet with Tagir Ulanbekov, and I think that's what he's going to have to try and do if he wants to win the fight. I do think I'm going to be picking Tagir, but I wouldn't be putting a parlay in with Tagir Ulanbekov, especially with these odds as well, -250. I can't really agree with -250 odds. I think maybe -200 or somewhere around -200 are probably a little bit more fair. Maybe -220 isn't actually too bad. But Tagir Ulanbekov, he just hasn't really impressed me too much. But with that being said, though, this could be a massive coming out party for him. If he looks great against Tim Elliott, which he hasn't really done in his last 2 fights, he could definitely change my opinion on him. And I could definitely see him as the prospect that a lot of people think that he is. But he just hasn't really impressed me too much at this point in his career to be all in on Tagir Ulanbekov. I do understand that he's fighting Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott's a pretty well-known guy. A lot of people do like Tim Elliott as well. He's a pretty cool guy. Great personality. He has a couple of decent wins in his record. He is 17-12, but dude, he spent a lot of time in the UFC. He's had 2 runs in the UFC, one before The Ultimate Fighter, and then the other one, the second one, which he's in right now, after he fought Demetrius Johnson. So, man, can't really hate on Tim Elliott for that, man. He's definitely been around there, and he's fought some great guys, especially Matthias Nicolau recently. A couple of decent wins there as well. Jordan Espinoza, who's a wrestler, lost to Brandon Royval, lost to Askarov, who are top 10 opponents right now. Tim Elliott, in my opinion, is a guy that's like just top 15 barely, or borderline top 15 in the flyweight division at this point in his career, now that he's 35. I think this is going to be a good test for Tagir, But I just think that if Tagir isn't able to pass this test with flying colours, I don't really see him finding too much success at the very top of the flyweight division. I've got Tagir Ulanbekov. I do think a lot of people are overlooking Tim Elliot in this one, though. I'm not going to overlook Tim Elliot. I do think there's a decent chance Tim Elliot could get an upset if he's able to defend the wrestling attempts of Ulanbekov, keep the fight on the feet, chop away at the legs of Ulanbekov, which are, no disrespect to Ulanbekov, man, but they're kind of like candlesticks, and when he does get kicked in the legs, it looks painful, man. And he doesn't check them either. He doesn't check leg kicks. I do think Tim Elliot, though, on the other hand, much better striker. He's very awkward as well. He's awkward on the feet. He's awkward in his grappling. He's going to be testing to get Ulanbekov in this one, but I do think Tagir will get the job done eventually by a decision. I don't think it will be the most exciting fight in the world, but I think it's still a fight to look forward to, man. Tim Elliot, you can always kind of look forward to a Tim Elliot fight. You can always kind of look forward to a Russian prospect as well. But it is worth noting that Tagir Ulanbekov is almost 31 years old in the flyweight division. He's definitely getting up there in age, man. I do think that this is a good test for Tagir, and if he does pass it, I can see him definitely trying to fight his way up the rankings in his next 2 or 3 fights. Tagir Ulanbekov decision. To be honest, there's not a lot of confidence in it, though. I'm gonna be honest. I do think this is gonna be a great test for Tagir. I do think he's gonna get the job done, but a split decision win over Alan Nascimento and a win over Bruno Silva, where Bruno Silva was able to take him down a couple of times. I mean, that Bruno Silva win doesn't really look too bad anymore, because I think Bruno Silva's bounced back with a couple of KO wins. But yeah, I think this is a very interesting fight. It's a very interesting fight. That's all I can really say, man. Tagir Ulanbekov is a great prospect, but is he as great of a prospect as a lot of these other Russian fighters out there? Well, we're going to find out after this fight. That's all I'm going to say. And if we move on to the next fight, we've got another fight which I've got a lot to talk about. Umar Nurmagomedov finding Brian Kelleher, and once again, in my opinion, I do think that the odds are a little bit too wide in this one. I think a lot of people are disrespecting Brian Kelleher on this one here. I wouldn't be aligning Umar Nurmagomedov as a minus 700 favourite, even though he was a minus 500 favourite over Sergey Morozov, and he did make the fight look easy. So I will give him that credit there. There's a lot of massive favourites on this card. Umar Nurmagomedov is one of them. I am picking Umar Nurmagomedov to win. Before we get into the breakdown, I'm just going to have a look at the odds here, because I'm very surprised that we've got like minus 650 at best value for Umar Nurmagomedov, plus 500 at best value for Brian Kelleher. Guys, this is MMA. Literally anything could happen, and I do think Umar Nurmagomedov is a better striker than Brian Kelleher, and I do think that he's a better grappler than Brian Kelleher, but just barely, you know what I mean? Umar Nurmagomedov looked awesome against Sergey Morozov. He threw a lot of kicks, a lot of very fast kicks, but he has been out for about 6 months. He hasn't fought in over a year. He has been out for 6 months, specifically because of torn ligaments in his legs. So hopefully he's able to have recovered quite well from there. On the other hand, though, Brian Kelleher has been very active. He fought only about a month ago. He fought at featherweight, which is a weight class up, against Kevin Kroom. He looked pretty good in that fight, but it is Kevin Kroom. He beat Domingo Pilate pretty much anywhere where the fight went, and Domingo Pilate was a lot taller than him. Lost to Ricky Simone, beat Ray Rodriguez, lost to Cody Stamen. This is the thing with Brian Kelleher, in my opinion, he beats all of the guys that aren't that step up in competition. You know, that's why he's such a perfect test for Umar Nurmagomedov. An example can just be Xiaonan in his last 5 fights. He beat Kevin Kroom, he beat Domingo Pilate, and he beat Ray Rodriguez. But his 2 losses come to guys in the top 15, like Cody Stamen and Ricky Simone. 2 guys that are in the top 15, 2 guys that would really test Umar Nurmagomedov. This is why I think that Umar Nurmagomedov versus Brian Kelleher is actually a very good test to see where Umar is actually at. Because I think with a win over Brian Kelleher, Umar could probably start calling out some top 15 guys in that bantamweight division, or guys that are just outside of the top 15. But with that being said, let's just get into the fights. I know I've spent a decent amount of time rambling, about 2 minutes rambling about this fight. We've got to go to Umar Nurmagomedov's debut against another debuting fighter in Sergey Morozov, who is now 1-2 in the UFC. He was a favourite to beat Douglas Silva de Andrade. I picked him to beat Douglas Silva de Andrade, and he lost. Not really too good, but he did beat Khalid Taha as an underdog, which is a pretty good look, I guess you could say. And if you go to the stats here of the fighters, Brian Kelleher versus Umar Nurmagomedov, Brian Kelleher, he does land 1.87 takedowns per 15 minutes. Umar Nurmagomedov lands a lot, because he did land a few, but he also has decent striking as well. You cannot overlook the striking of Umar, in my opinion. But yeah, with that being said, I guess I have kind of rambled on a lot about these two guys. I don't really think I've said anything of substance, but there isn't really too much to say. Nurmagomedov, great striking. He's got great grappling as well. Brian Kelleher has great defensive submissions. He does have like 6 guillotine wins in his career. I think maybe even more than that. So you can't really overlook the chances of Brian Kelleher here. He could catch one of Umar's kicks, and he could drop him with a big right hand. Or a left hand or something. Like he did knock out Hunter Azura, who was undefeated at the time. But I do think that Umar Nurmagomedov will get the job done. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him though. I'm going to go Nurmagomedov decision. I think we're going to see a decision on the end of Umar. Yeah, I think that Kelleher is going to be durable enough to survive all 3 rounds. But I do think that we're going to see probably like a 30-27, maybe a 29-28. Brian Kelleher is going to have his own moments though. I do think that a lot of people are just overlooking him quite a bit, but Umar is a legitimate prospect, a legitimate Russian prospect, and a guy to look out for definitely in the future, definitely a future top 10, maybe even a top 5 opponent in the UFC. I do have a very high ceiling set for Umar, but I'm just not, I'm being realistic. I'm not overlooking Brian Kelleher as a plus 500 underdog. That's too much for me, man. I wouldn't really be parlaying Umar, even if there is even any value even there. I would say maybe minus 400, minus 300 would be good value for Umar. Not minus 700, guys. I just don't think there's any value in this fight anymore. I think it's a fight to avoid. But I do think Umar's going to get the job done. I do have a little bit of confidence in him, but I'm not overlooking Brian Kelleher at the same time. And if we move on to the next fight, we've got Marina Moroz fighting Mariya Agapova. You guys already know that I'm very excited for this one because Marina Moroz and Mariya Agapova hate each other with a passion, because Marina Moroz was going on about how Mariya Agapova was abusing people, was abusing drugs when she was in her gym, and that's why she got kicked out of so many gyms. Mariya Agapova is saying that's not true, and yeah, there's a massive beef going on around there. Mariya Agapova in her post-fight interview after beating Sabina Mazo said that she wanted to kill Marina Moroz. Like, these two do not like each other. These two hate each other. And with that being said though, it's interesting that Tapology has Mariya Agapova lined as an underdog, where Best Fight Odds actually has Mariya Agapova lined as the favourite. So I'm a little bit interested to see kind of how that runs. I think they've got kind of around the wrong way. Mariya Agapova, I think, is actually the minus 200 favourite. Marina Moroz is the plus 175 underdog. Just kind of getting that out there before I start talking about these two fighters. Marina Moroz, she's from Ukraine, so my heart does go out to those people over there, and I do hope that we can find peace sometime soon. I know that there's talks about that going on. I know that a lot of people in Ukraine are campaigning for that, so I do hope that everything works out in the end. But moving on from that, Marina Moroz is the Ukrainian boxing champion, I think, and she's also a master of sports in kickboxing and boxing for Ukraine. On the other hand, Mariya Agapova, she's a pretty aggressive striker. She kind of tries to knock people out with everything that she does. A big blip on her record though is that loss to Shayna Dobson. That raises a lot of red flags. I mean, she's only 24 years old, and she's going to be fighting a girl in Marina Moroz, which she hates. Is she going to be able to control herself to not try and throw the whole kitchen sink at her in 2 minutes and potentially get taken down and submitted, or just get knocked out, or even just gas herself out in those first few minutes? You've got to kind of consider that Mariya Agapova, she's young, she's 24. Is she mature enough to be able to hold herself back in that cage against someone who she truly despises in that first round? I am going to say yes. I do think Mariya Agapova is going to get the job done. I think she's going to get what she wants. I think she's going to punch Marina Moroz in the face quite a few times. I mean, that kind of is what happens in the cage, isn't it? I'm going to go Mariya Agapova to win the fight. Marina Moroz has been out for quite a while. She's been withdrawing from a lot of fights. Be interesting to see if this fight does end up occurring. But I do think that we're going to see Mariya Agapova to use some kickboxing, keep the fight on the feet. I do think she's going to get the job done. Marina Moroz, on the other hand, she does throw a very significant amount of strikes. She lands only 30% of the strikes that she throws, but she's landing 4 strikes. So she's throwing about 12 strikes a minute. That's 1 strike every 5 seconds. On the other hand, though, Mariya Agapova is landing about 53% of her strikes, but is landing about 5 strikes. So she's landing about 10 strikes per minute as well. So these girls are very heavy volume strikers. I do think we're going to see a very exciting striking match take place on the feet. I'm going Agapova by decision most likely, but there's definitely a chance that she's going to get the finish as well. Maybe she hurts Moroz and is able to get the job done there, but I'm going to go Mariya Agapova. Definitely not a fight that I would be putting money on, definitely not a fight that I'd be putting in a parlay, and not a fight that I've got the most confident pick on. I mean, women's MMA and me, I've probably got a losing record from picking women's fights. I'm just not that great at it, guys. Unfortunately, there's something about it I just can't get a good read. But I am going to go with Mariya Agapova to win this one here. What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here, and I'm going to be talking about Nzechukwu versus Negumereanu. And this is a fight which I'm still torn on, guys. I'm really unsure of the pick. Prior to the UFC, Negumereanu's opponents combined was like 37 wins to 81 losses. The guy was crushing cans on the regional scene. He came in on short notice to Safarov. He lost their decision there, but then he come back and beat Oleksiejczuk in a weird split decision. Some people are still kind of arguing about that. It's a hard fight to judge, really. Ike Villanueva, on the other hand, he knocked him out in about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Nzechukwu, on the other hand, the guy is 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. If he can utilize that on the feet, I think he could definitely find some success. He just recently lost to Dustin in a pretty weird fight where his coaches were kind of telling him what to do. When he told him to worry about his foot placement, he was looking down at his feet. When he was trying to defend, he kind of had like his elbow up. I can't really do it because I had surgery on my shoulder like 2 or 3 days ago. I can't move my arm, but he had like an elbow up to kind of do like the blocking. And then when he got knocked out with that elbow, it was kind of like he had kind of had like a weird guard up, and then he got elbowed by Dustin and knocked out. It was a very strange fight. He beat Danilo Marquez in a comeback. He beat Carlos Alberg in a comeback. He beat Darko Stolcik by decision. He lost to Paul Craig, but he defended 15 of 16 takedowns attempts from Paul Craig there. So I don't know if Nick is actually going to be able to get the fight to the ground as he might be wanting to here. I don't have a read on this fight. I'm really sorry if you come here for a confident pick. I don't have a confident pick, unfortunately, and yeah, I've been trying to research kind of what to think about this fight. If we go to Nzechukwu, he lands 5 strikes per minute with a 42% accuracy, but he does have a 49% defense. Nikolai, on the other hand, only has 29% defense, but we only have 3 fights to go off of, really. On the other hand, though, one thing we do know, though, is that we've got a very, very good takedown defense from Nzechukwu, and we know that he's going to want to keep the fight on the feet. He does not want to take the fight to the ground. Nikolai, on the other hand, potentially might actually be looking for a takedown. Maybe he wants the fight on the ground. Nzechukwu is a pretty slow starter as well, especially in that first round. He does seem to kind of need someone there, like his coach, to wind him up, to get him ready, to get him aggressive enough to get into the fight. That's kind of another weird sort of situation there. He doesn't really seem too aggressive. He doesn't really seem too ready to fight when he steps in that octagon. His coaches are really there as his motivators, are really there telling him what to do and how to do it. And it's like he has to think when he's in the octagon. He's got to think when he's in the cage about what to do. And I'm very interested to see what the other picks are. We've got Negumereanu as an underdog. I do like him as an underdog in this fight. I'm going to pick Nick with not a lot of confidence. My pick could completely flip in the next few days, but I'm really trying to get these videos out here for you guys. I don't want to lead you guys on and let you know that I'm very confident in one of these two guys, because I'm not. I don't think that this is a parlay edition fight. I don't think you should parlay either of these two in any parlays. I don't even know if you should bet this fight. I think that this is a fight you should probably avoid. I do think Nick is probably going to have to find the chin against Kennedy eventually. I think what he did on the regional scene was he ran forward. He ran forward and he kind of just threw without too much intent. But then when he lost his first fight against Safarov, he took a big break and then he's come back and he's looked a little bit better there. I'm going to go with Nick to win the fight. Not a lot of confidence though. Nick Negumereanu by KO. But Nzechukwu is good too, man. I'm so sorry, guys. I just don't have a confident pick for you guys, but I'm going to go with Nick Negumereanu as the underdog in this one here. The next fight that I'm going to be talking about here is going to be Marina Rodriguez versus Xiaonan. And Xiaonan is the biggest underdog that she's been in her UFC career right now. She opened up, I think, like around like plus 150 as Marina Rodriguez opened a minus 180. And the line has gone very wide. Once again, a line that I think is a little bit too wide. Minus 280 for Marina Rodriguez. I do think she's going to win, But I don't know about minus 300, man. I'd say maybe like a minus 200 is a much more fair line for this fight here. But if we're going to not be talking about that, we're going to be talking about the striking of Marina Rodriguez in this one here. I think that if Marina Rodriguez fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk, we would be in for an awesome fight, an awesome 5-round fight. Unfortunately, I don't really know if we're going to get that. Potentially, if Marina Rodriguez wins this fight, she could get that Joanna fight, because Joanna kind of wants to fight a top 3 opponent. She wants to fight a champion or something like that. She has been talking about returning, but let's not talk about that. Marina Rodriguez, I think if she wins this fight, she should definitely call out Rose Namajunas to potentially get a title shot. She's getting up there in age, almost 35 years old. Xiaonan at least has a couple of years on her still to build up a win streak to get back into that title picture. If we look at the 5-on-in for both ladies, Marina Rodriguez is coming off 2 main event wins. A Michal Waterson decision win, where she beat her up for a whole 5 rounds. She beat up Mackenzie Dern for 5 rounds, defended all but one of her takedowns officially. Made Mackenzie Dern look like she had absolutely no idea what she's doing on the feet, because the truth is, it turns out she actually does have no idea what she's doing on the feet. Xiaonan, on the other hand, was on a good win streak herself. A lot of people really wanted to see her versus oh no, man, what am I doing? I forgot her name. Zhang Wei Li. A lot of people wanted to see Xiaonan Yan versus Zhang Wei Li in China. 2 Chinese women fighting for the belt would have been awesome, but unfortunately Carla Esparza and Rose Namajunas both decided that that was not going to happen. Carla Esparza got her into the crucifix and ground and pounded her out to a victory. Prior to that, though, she did have a couple of good wins. I'd say her best win is that Karolina Kowalkiewicz win. Pretty much sent her to retirement after that one there. Marina Rodriguez, I do think, has the better kickboxing. Xiaonan is more of a headhunter, in my opinion. She fights a lot to the head. She throws a lot of punches. She doesn't really kick the leg. She doesn't really kick the body. Marina Rodriguez, on the other hand, is a kickboxer, and she kind of works at works all of the body. She'll work the leg, she'll work the body, and she'll work the head. I think Marina Rodriguez is going to outpoint Xiaonan on the feet for 15 minutes here. I don't think we're going to see a finish here. If there is, though, I think it would just be Rodriguez working Yan into submission and finishing her off just with strikes towards the end of the fight. But I do think we're going to see Rodriguez win with the decision. I think pretty dominant, 30-27. I think after that she's going to call out Rose Namajunas, or even call out Joanna Jędrzejczyk or something like that. It'll be very interesting to see what happens after that. But Marina Rodriguez with a lot of confidence. With that being said, though, I do think the line minus 280 is a little bit wide. I wouldn't have minded minus 200, but I think minus 280 might be a little bit too much. And this next fight that I'm going to be talking about, we've got Jalin Turner fighting Jamie Mullarkey. Jalin Turner opened as the minus 150 favourite. A decent amount of money must have come in on that side, because the lines seem like they're about to flip, man. We've got Jalin Turner minus 125, Jamie Mullarkey minus 105 on some bookies, plus 100 on others. I do think that we're going to see a line flip on this one here. I think that we're going to see some money come in on Jamie Mullarkey. But let's move on from that, man. Let's just talk about the Australian fighter, Jamie Mullarkey. If you guys don't know, I'm from New Zealand, which is just across the ditch from the old mates over in Australia. So I'm only a few hours flight away. I'm from New Zealand. I'm on that little island towards the right of Australia. But enough about me, man. Let's talk about old mate Jamie Mullarkey. He's on a 2-fight win streak after losing 2 fights in a row. In his UFC debut, he lost to Brad Rizal, very, very good kickboxer, fighting out of City Kickboxing over here in New Zealand. Then he lost to Fiziev, K1 kickboxer. Unfortunately, just lost to Terence McKinney in the first round, so that loss, it's not actually that bad though, man. Fiziev is he's a great kickboxer. Jamie Mullarkey just wasn't able to implement his pressure style on that one. He knocked out Conor Worthy, knocked out Devonte Smith. Jamie Mullarkey's pressure style is, I think, in my opinion, potentially going to work here. If he wants to beat Jalin Turner in this one, he's going to have to pressure forward. He's going to have to push forward against Jalin Turner. He's going to have to close the space that Jalin Turner is going to be able to have with his height and a very slight reach advantage as well. Can Jalin Turner turn this into the Fiziev fight and stay on the outside, kickbox Jamie Mullarkey from range? Or is Jamie Mullarkey be able to rush forward and implement his body shots like he was able to against Devonte Smith, to move forward up against the cage and land some big shots to knock out Jalin Turner? In my opinion, though, straight up, Jalin Turner, he hasn't really been fighting as high of a level of competition. I mean, I would actually say Uros Medic was a pretty high level competition. I do think that was his debut though, wasn't it? Something like that. But prior to that, though, he did beat Brock Weaver, who was kind of UFC's punching bag for a while. Beat Joshua Cullerbell on short notice, who was upper weight class. Beat Cullen Potter, who was an Australian fighter. Lost to Matt Frivola, got taken down and kind of controlled in that one there. Matt Frivola, though, recently just beat Genaro Valdez as well by knockout, which is and that insane fight. It was a weird fight. Anyway, we're not talking about that. Jalin Turner looked awesome in his last fight. He shocked me. I think I picked against him. I'm gonna be picking against him again now. I'm gonna be picking the Hooligan. I'm gonna be picking Jamie Mullarkey in a very close fight. A fight that could go either way. In my opinion, a fight that you shouldn't be putting in a parlay, because the fight could go either way. I do think the lines are going to flip, though. I do actually think that money is going to come in on the Mullarkey side as an underdog, and I do think we're going to see him be a slight favourite coming into the fight. The thing with Jalin Turner, though, he's got a very weird record. Like, he's 11-5, but he's not really like his record's a lot better than it seems. Like, he come into the UFC 6-3, I think, 7-3. Won a couple, lost a couple. I mean, he lost to Vicente Luque, upper weight class on short notice. I think that was short notice. So we know he's not able to beat Vicente Luque. What does that tell you? You're not able to beat like the top 5 welterweights in the world as a lightweight. Can't really put too much stock in that loss. And then he lost to Matt Frivola, who's a very good wrestler. Apart from that, though, he has won quite a few fights. On the other hand, Jamie Mullarkey, 2-2 in the UFC. He's on a little bit of a streak right now. I think he's going to be able to continue it. He's going to be able to keep his pressure forward style. I think he's going to be able to rip the body of Jalin Turner like he was able to rip the body of Devonte Smith. Will we get a finish? Potentially. All of Jalin Turner's wins are inside the distance. I think he's got like 8 knockout wins and 3 submission wins. Jamie Mullarkey, on the other hand, I think has something like... Oh, this is off the top of my head, man. I think he's got like 10 knockout wins and like 3 submission wins. I know he's got 1 decision win anyway. I think Jamie Mullarkey might actually be able to take this fight to a decision. He's going to get a second decision win. If he doesn't, though, he's going to knock him out. I think we're going to have to go with Mullarkey by knockout or by decision. I think Turner does have a great ground game. If Turner does take the fight to the ground, he potentially could see a submission come out of that side there. I'm going to go Jamie Mullarkey. I think he's going to be able to utilize his pressure, keep the fight, keep Jalin Turner walking backwards, keep Mullarkey pressuring forward. I think he's going to get the job done. I don't know if he's going to get it inside the distance for a decision or not, but this is the featured prelim, man. This is the fight that that the UFC is expecting to be a banger, so people buy the pay-per-view for more fights. I think that Jamie Mullarkey and Jalin Turner are going to put on a great show. I think we're going to go with Jamie Mullarkey here. I think he's going to get the job done, and it's going to be a great fight. Next fight I'm going to talk about is the main card opener. Greg Hardy is on another main card of a pay-per-view. I don't know who's buying main cards for Greg Hardy. Who's buying pay-per-views for Greg Hardy? Not me anyway. But point is, Sergey Spivak is fighting Greg Hardy now on the main card of a pay-per-view. I've said that twice now, just because I'm a little bit surprised. I do think there's better fights on the prelims that could be the opener of this one. One thing that I have actually been a little bit of an advocate for is why do we not put Marina Moroz and Mariya Agapova in the press conference? That would be insane. Those two hate each other with a passion, man. That would sell pay-per-views. Anyway, Sergey Spivak, I think he's going to win the fight. He looks pretty good against Oleksiejczuk. He did fight Tom Aspinall, who was one of the better boxers in the heavyweight division. One of the better boxers maybe purely in the UFC at the moment, but I think that might be a little bit of a stretch to say. Fought him on short notice. He did get knocked out. It didn't really show great defense striking there. He did beat Oleksiejczuk, who is a very old guy. Beat Jared Vandeira, who's alright. I mean, he did just fight Andrei Arlovski and lose there. He beat the juicy boy Carlos Felipe, the guy that just got USADA knocking on his door relatively recently when he was undefeated. Carlos split decision Felipe is what I like to call him. And he lost to Marcin Tybura. Greg Hardy also lost to Marcin Tybura. But before that, though, he lost to Volkov. Beat a couple of guys. Jorge De Castro, who's not in the UFC anymore. Maurice Green, who's not in the UFC anymore. Marcin Tybura, who's top 15. Taito Ivasa, he did hurt Taito Ivasa. That's one thing that a lot of people are going to bring up. Greg Hardy hurt Taito Ivasa. Taito Ivasa ended up recovering. He didn't really recover very quickly. He was still shaky on the legs. But Greg Hardy, when he hurts someone on the feet, he chases after them. And Taito Ivasa has good enough counter striking, or good enough striking in general, to kind of see Greg Hardy coming. And he landed a pretty brutal strike of his own and knocked Greg Hardy out pretty badly, really. In my opinion, though, Greg Hardy's a very good athlete. He's definitely showing that in the NFL. He's definitely showing that when he had a domestic. And but now he's fighting Sergey Spivak. I think Sergey Spivak is very well rounded. He's got great wrestling. He's also got some alright submissions as well. I think we're going to see probably a replay of Greg Hardy versus Marcin Tybura take place here. I think Sergey Spivak is going to take Greg Hardy to the ground and probably just pound him out to a TKO victory, in my opinion. Just like he did with Jared Vanderaa. I don't really see Greg Hardy winning this fight. If he does, though, it will be first round knockout. I do think that Greg Hardy, he doesn't really have the greatest cardio, though. He's kind of showing that with his no contest with Ben Sassoli, where he needed to use his inhaler. That was a terrible fight. But Sergey Spivak, I think he's going to ground and pound Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy's got a chance, though. He's got a chance to knock out Spivak. He's got a very good chance to knock out Spivak, actually. But I think that Spivak's wrestling, his takedowns are going to make the difference here. I kind of prove that with the stats as well. Sergey Spivak, he lands 2.7 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 57% accuracy. So you know he's actually going to be looking for takedowns, actively looking for takedowns. He's shooting about 5 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's shooting about at least 1 takedown a round, 2 takedowns a round even with that kind of math there. He's the favorite. Is he a bigger favorite than I thought he would be? Yes, to be honest, minus 200. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm not really too keen on throwing money on that one there. But at one point, he was a minus 160 favorite. Minus 180 is kind of what he opened up as. Minus 160. I wouldn't have minded jumping on that and putting a parlay on that one. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Sergey Spivak. I think that he's got a good chance to win the fight here. I think he's got better wrestling. He's got better ground game. Sergey Spivak's going to take down Greg Hardy and knock him out. I think we'll TKO him on the ground anyway. And I think if Greg Hardy gets cut from the UFC, I think Eagle FC will probably scoop him up. Even though, like, I wouldn't really be opposed to that. But anyway, with that being said, I've gone Sergey Spivak. And the next fight I'm going to be talking about here is Kevin Holland's comeback fight, and not just his comeback fight to 185, this is his comeback fight to 170. The man who had the best 2020 out of literally any fighter in the UFC roster, potentially of any fighter in MMA in general, went on 5-fight win streak, won most of them by finish. I think they might have all been by finish, including a win over Jacare Souza. We knocked him out off his back. Now he's returning to 170, and he's fighting a man who is currently in a very low point of his career. He's 2-6 in his last 8 fights, but he's been up there in the highs. He's main evented cards before. Cowboy versus Cowboy is probably a very recognizable one where he fought Donald Cerrone in the main event. I think he actually lost that fight. He did lose that fight, sorry, but it was still quite a good one on there anyway. Kevin Holland, on the other hand, he hasn't fought at 170 pounds since he missed weight at LFA 13, which was quite a few years ago before he made it into the UFC, where he weighed in at 174 pounds. I'm very interested to see if he's going to be able to make the weight well. I think with a good nutrition team and a good people around him, I think he should be able to make the weight with less problems than he did back in the day when he missed weight at LFA. I think he's probably got a better team around him now. With that being said, he is coming off a weird loss. I mean, it's definitely a no contest. I was one of the people that was thinking it should be a no contest against Kyle Dalkaus. Accidental headbutt knocked him out, and then he got submitted after that. Lost to Marvin Vettori by decision. I think he got controlled for about 20 minutes of that fight, but he looked good on the feet. He did look good on the feet against Marvin, and he got controlled for most of the fight against Derek Brunson as well. Once again, it looks pretty good on the feet. Alex Oliveira, on the other hand, a 3-fight losing streak to Nico Price, Randy Brown, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Kevin Holland's got the size advantage. He's got the reach advantage as well. I think Kevin Holland is definitely a parlay piece on this one here. I think he's definitely someone that you can put in your parlays with a decent amount of confidence. I mean, there's so much confidence in Kevin Holland right now. 94% picking him, only 6% picking Oliveira. I do think Kevin Holland is going to bounce back, and I do wonder how much success he's going to see at 170 moving forward if he beats Alex Oliveira, because I do think if he beats Alex Oliveira, he will be probably looking at the 170-pound rankings. I think he's ranked like number 14th in the middleweight division right now. Fighting Alex Oliveira in his debut, who isn't ranked at the moment in welterweight division, but it's still a relatively respectable name, even though he is 2-6 in his last 8. You can still respect a guy like Alex Oliveira who's been around there and he's been there. And he's kind of seen everything at this point. This is his 34th professional fight, 35th professional fight actually, and 29th for Kevin Holland, who's not even 30 years old yet. So I'm going to go here with Kevin Holland here. I think he's going to get the job done. I do think he is going to knock out Alex Oliveira. I think his takedown defense is going to be a lot better at 170. I think a lot of people are going to struggle to take him down a bit more at 170. He's going to be fighting smaller guys that weigh a lot less than 185ers, if that makes any sense. I mean, the last two real losses were Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson. Two guys that, Derek Brunson, who was just lost to Jared Cannonier, but Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson are top 5 in the middleweight division. So I'm going to go Kevin Holland. I've got a decent amount of confidence in him. I think he's going to get the job done. This next fight that I'm going to be talking about, Edson Barboza versus Bryce Mitchell. They opened up at about even odds, and money has come in on the Bryce Mitchell side, making him a slight favorite over Edson Barboza here, about minus 150 or so is what we can kind of find him at. I'm going to go with the underdog, man. It's Edson Barboza underdog season, boys. He may be 36 years old, but I'm not going to count him out. I think he's going to get the job done. Not a lot of confidence in it, though, let's be honest. Bryce Mitchell, he's a finisher, kind of, but not really. I mean, he's kind of got all decision wins in the UFC, apart from that one twister submission over Matt Sales. Matt Sales isn't that great, to be honest. He's fighting a 6-3 guy on the regional scene now. Absolutely dominated Charles Rosa, and he beat Andre Fili. That's my problem with Bryce Mitchell, man. Like, he hasn't really fought these guys. He hasn't fought the guys in the top 15, and that is why he's fighting Edson Barboza. This is literally the reason why he's fighting Edson Barboza right now, is to test him. We're testing Bryce Mitchell in the top 10. I think Edson Barboza's ranked 10th. Bryce Mitchell's ranked 11th. And, yeah, they're really testing Bryce Mitchell at this point of his career. He's 27 years old. He hasn't fought for over a year. Now he's going to be fighting Edson Barboza, who is coming off a loss. He's coming off a loss to Giga Chikadze, which wasn't really the greatest performance, in my opinion. I picked Edson Barboza to win that fight. Giga Chikadze beat him. Shane Burgos, he beat him in a very exciting fight. It was a very weird KO, though. He hit him, and then Shane Burgos took quite a while to collapse. He beat Makwan Al-Makani by decision, but Makwan Al-Makani was actually able to get that fight to the ground, which I think you could definitely see as a little bit of a red flag coming into this fight here. Makwan Al-Makani, I think he went 3 for 6 of takedowns. I should have remembered that, but yeah, he went 3 for 6 of takedowns. Edson Barboza did outstrike him, though, over those 3 rounds there. He outstruck Shane Burgos as well. Ended up knocking him out in the 3rd round as well. But yeah, I just don't think Bryce Mitchell is actually gonna have anything for Edson Barboza on the feet. It's not like Tagir Ulanbekov, where Tagir Ulanbekov is very uncomfortable on the feet. I think Bryce Mitchell's still got something on the feet, but he's gonna be shooting for the legs. He's gonna be shooting for the legs as soon as Edson touches him, in my opinion. I think Edson Barboza is gonna be able to knock him out, man. This is Bryce Mitchell's first fight in about a year and 3 months now. He's got the reach advantage. He's got a height advantage as well. He's a savage, bro. It's Edson Barboza, and it's not like Edson Barboza just doesn't really know what he's doing on the ground either. I think he's got a black belt as well, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, I could be very wrong with that call, but I know that he's not a bum on the ground. He definitely knows what he's doing. We'll see if this Tapology page has anything with that being said. Doesn't quite say, unfortunately. But anyway, the point is Edson Barboza, he's able to handle himself on the ground. I don't know if Bryce Mitchell gets the fight to the ground, I don't know if he's going to be able to handle him as well as a lot of people think. I think Edson Barboza can still pose some sort of threat to the fight, but I think Edson wants the fight on the feet all day. There's no way Edson's going to be shooting for his own takedowns. Let's go Edson Barboza. Let's go Edson Barboza underdog season, man. Let's go, bro. Edson Barboza by knockout in the second round. That's my pick, man. I really hope he gets the job done. And in the next one, we've got RDA versus Rafael Fiziev. I'm starting to get really tired. I mean, I did have surgery 2 days ago. I've been recording this video for about 2 hours now because I did them all separately. Rafael dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev. I'm going Rafael Fiziev. It's a very weird fight for Rafael dos Anjos to take at this point in his career. I think at this point of RDA's career, he should be taking like the money fights, man. He should be looking for like another fight with Nate Diaz. He should be looking for maybe even calling out Conor McGregor, get Conor McGregor to fight RDA. Who else is in the welterweight division that's a pretty big name? Maybe even like a Masvidal fight if he loses to Colby Covington. Could be a move for RDA. I mean, I don't actually know how smart of a pick that would be, but you guys kind of know what I'm trying to say here. Is RDA, man, I don't think he should be feeding himself to these guys that are up and comers. I think RDA should be fighting the big names like he did do at one point in his career, and when he has been doing recently. Like he came up to He came up to 170. He submitted Neil Magny, fought Robbie Lawler, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. Like, these are big names, man. And then he fought Paul Felder on like 1 day's notice. I think Paul Felder just got up off his couch, was like, "Yep, I'll fight him." You guys know what I mean. Like, this guy's been in there with some of the best guys in the world. He's been in there with some of the biggest names in the world as well. I think at the point of being 37 years old, I just don't think that he should be fighting a guy like Rafael Fiziev, a guy that is 29 years old. Actually, his birthday. 29 years old exactly. And he's coming up up the rankings. I think RDA should be looking for money fights, especially at this point. I know it's very, very disrespectful to Rafael dos Anjos and what he did in his career, because he is a former champion. He is a guy that does hold very good wins. His Kevin Lee win is actually quite impressive, in my opinion, where he out-wrestled Kevin Lee, actually, to win that fight. He got out-wrestled by Kamaru Usman, got outstruck and out-wrestled by Leon Edwards, got out-wrestled by Michael Chiesa. He did beat Paul Felder in that fight, in my opinion. Now, Rafael Fiziev, on the other hand, very much a pure striker, in my opinion. Beat Brad Riddell in an amazing fight. He knocked him out, or TKO'd him, I guess you could say, in the 3rd round with a wheel kick. Definitely most impressive they did it in the 3rd round, towards the end, in a very grueling fight. A fight that was a chess match either way. I think I had it 1-1 going into that 3rd round, in my opinion. I think Rafael Fiziev was starting to take over that fight, and he probably was on his way to win a very close decision with a guy like Brad Riddell, who's a great kickboxer. Rafael Fiziev also showed that he's also a very, very good kickboxer, man. I've got Rafael Fiziev. The fact that this fight is a 5-round fight just gives Rafael Fiziev more time to work, but also gives RDA more time to work as well, because a lot of people have been relatively concerned with his cardio. Bobby Green, man, he tuned him up in that 3rd round because Rafael Fiziev got tired. If this fight does make it to the 4th and 5th rounds, maybe Dos Anjos could start to take over. He's got a lot more 5-round experience than Fiziev does. He's got experience going 5 rounds as well. There's definitely a chance that RDA could get a round 4, round 5 finish, but I do think Rafael Fiziev is probably going to be able to finish the fight within the first 3 rounds, in my personal opinion. If we look at the odds, we've got Rafael Fiziev almost a minus 240, minus 250 on most. I think that's pretty fair. I think he's actually a very good parlay piece. Actually, the Artem MMA Analysis parlay, which doesn't actually exist, but I'm just going to make it up right now. It could be the Kevin Holland and Rafael Fiziev. I wonder what the odds on just those two as is would be. Maybe even throw in a bigger favorite earlier on in the card, and you could have some good plus money coming your way. Yeah, with that being said, though, I'm going to go Rafael Fiziev. I think he's going to beat RDA on the feet. RDA is 37 years old. We have started to see him slow down, especially in his last fight against Paul Felder. Now he's had another year off. He's going to be even slower, in my opinion. I just don't know where RDA is at this point in his career. I think he should be looking for money fights. He should be looking to use his name against big guys instead of letting other guys use his name to build their name, like Rafael Fiziev is doing it right now, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Rafael Fiziev to get the job done in the first 3 rounds. RDA's definitely got a shot in the last 2 after Fiziev gets tired, but we'll see what happens. And now we're moving on to the fight that a lot of people are here for. Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. Very interesting fight, in my opinion, and I've got a couple of opinions on how is this going to go. Like, if Colby Covington beats Jorge Masvidal, where does he go from here? Does he go to a title eliminator? Does he get to fight Kamaru Usman again, even though he's lost to him twice? Or even if Jorge Masvidal beats Colby Covington, what do we do with him? It's not like we can really give Jorge Masvidal Kamaru Usman again, because he's lost to him twice in a row now. It's kind of a weird fight to be making, but I do think that if Colby Covington does win this fight, I think he's probably going to try his hardest to get a title shot. I don't know if he will get a title shot. I think he'll get a title eliminator fight, but he'll definitely try his hardest to get a title shot. I think Jorge Masvidal, on the other hand, at this point in his career, he's 37 years old. He's going to be looking for money fights. He's going to be looking for big names. He's going to be looking for these pay-per-view cards, but pay-per-view headliner here without a title shot on the line. He's going to be looking for pay-per-view placements as well going forward, just to make that money, man. Jorge Masvidal is all about that money. I think he's the head of an alcohol brand now. He's got his own Game Breed FC. I think Icon have purchased it. Am I correct in saying that? But yeah, Colby Covington. I think Colby Covington's going to win the fight. I'll say that first before I start rambling away at about random things. So Colby Covington. With that being said, I think there's a lot more on the line for Colby Covington than Jorge Masvidal, because if Colby Covington loses this fight, where does he go? He's going to have to look down the rankings and fight lower ranked guys and build his name back up again. like he should have done, but didn't do after he lost to Kamaru Usman the first time. On the other hand, though, Jorge Masvidal, if he loses this fight, it's not really going to hurt his stock too much, man. It's a pay-per-view headline. I know a lot of people are going to be watching it, but a lot of people aren't really going to hate Jorge Masvidal too much if he does lose this fight. And I think if Colby Covington does win, it will be by wrestling. I think Jorge Masvidal's got some of the better striking in the welterweight division. I think he's got some of the better striking even in the UFC. Even at 37 years old, in my opinion, that's potentially controversial, but I think that a lot of people can agree that at least his boxing by itself is very, very high level. And I'm just very confused as to where these two guys go after this fight, though. That's the main thing, especially because they're both pretty old. Colby Covington's 34, Jorge Masvidal's 37, man. Yeah, if we're going to get into the breakdown of the fight, Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington, I think on the feet, Jorge Masvidal's got his number. I think Jorge Masvidal is going to be able to piece up Colby Covington on the feet. I think he's going to be able to get the job done on the feet if the fight stays there, but I don't think that it will. Jorge Masvidal, if he's able to defend takedowns of people, he's able to take the fight to his world. But if Colby Covington's able to get takedowns on his opponents, he's able to get the fight into his world. And I think Colby Covington's going to be able to do that. I think he's going to wrestle Jorge Masvidal for 25 minutes. I do see a world where Jorge Masvidal does actually catch the chin of Colby Covington, though, in the first or the second round and just knocks him out clean. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I do think Colby Covington is probably a little bit too good for that at this point of his career. I do think Colby Covington is going to wrestle Jorge Masvidal to a win here, or a late TKO sort of finish. Maybe even like a... No, I don't think he's going to choke him out. I think we're going to see like a late TKO or a decision win for Colby Covington here. I don't think we're going to see Colby Covington hurt Jorge Masvidal on the feet whatsoever, and if he does, I'll be very surprised. With that being said, though, Jorge Masvidal coming off his first knockout loss, like his actual first time getting knocked out, especially in the UFC and especially in front of a lot of people, I don't know if that's going to hurt his mindset. I think Colby Covington might be able to use that to potentially get into Jorge Masvidal's head. I mean, I know that these guys are already in each other's heads. They both hate each other. That's what the whole thing has been built up against. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how this fight goes. I know I haven't really been talking on topic for this fight in the last couple, just because, as I said, man, I had surgery 2 days ago. Give me a break. I'm so tired, man. I'm so tired. I'm still recovering. I'm spending all my time in the bed. I have to get these picks out for you guys. Colby Covington's my pick. Did he open? I think he opened as a bigger favorite than he is right now. Jorge Masvidal, what did he open as? Plus 160. Yeah, this is... Oh, sorry, he opened up smaller favorite. Now he's like plus 260. Colby Covington, what did he open as? Like minus 250? Minus 190. Oh no, why did I not get on those odds, man? That was a parlay piece. That was just a straight pick, man. You put a couple of $100 on that. That's... Oh, mate. Oh, I can't believe I missed that. Colby Covington's going to get the job done.